Welcome to Northern Italy, a region of the country that's steeped in history, culture, and of course, incredible food. I've been lucky enough to travel extensively through this part of Italy, and I've discovered some of the most breathtaking destinations, food, and experiences that you won't want to miss. And the great thing about these top destinations I'm about to take you to is that you can do all of these during your trip there. Each of these spots is only about a 1 to 3 hour drive from one another. So without further ado, here are my top 10 places to visit in Northern Italy. Our first destination on this list, one that truly lives up to the hype, and that is going to be Venice. Venice is a city that's been enchanting visitors for centuries. Venice is known for its intricate canals, stunning architecture, and romantic atmosphere. I've never had quite the view out of a bus like the buses that you take in Venice. It's because they aren't normal buses, it's a bus boat. They deliver Amazon packages in the mail with the boat. The construction workers are working off of a boat, getting their labor. The police are, they're traveling via boat. If you're planning to stay at one of the hotels in Venice, you're likely gonna have to take a boat to it. Just a lot of boat stuff happening in Venice, and it's no wonder why they call it the floating city. But no worries, if you don't like boats, you won't be floating your entire time there. There's also plenty of walking to do. Now, I highly recommend paying and doing a gondola ride. And I will tell you this right now, it is very expensive, probably more expensive than you thought it may be. For our 45-minute gondola ride, I think it was in the neighborhood of $120 for just those 45 minutes. But don't let me scare you, it is 100% worth it. I also highly recommend visiting one of the traditional Venice mask shops as well. It's the perfect souvenir. And of course, no visit to Venice will be complete without indulging in some authentic Italian cuisine. Now, we ate a lot during our time here, but if you want the best pasta in all of Venice, we found it. The best pasta is actually just at like a hole-in-the-wall spot that has takeout pasta, but it's all freshly made. It's not my #1 pasta in all of Italy, but it is my favorite in Venice. And if you want to find out who has the best pasta in all of Northern Italy, in my opinion, you're just gonna have to continue to watch the entire video through. And before we move on, I'm not gonna ask you to like this video or subscribe to my channel. Just do me this one favor instead and practice pack in, pack out when you travel. Do not throw any of your rubbish or trash on the ground, especially in a city like Venice where everything's floating. It's not a good look. So grazie for doing that, and let's continue on. Next is a city that's only about 2 hours away from Venice, and that is gonna be Bologna. Bologna is a city that's often referred to as the culinary capital of Italy. Bologna is a food lover's paradise, which if you watch this channel, I'm a food lover. I really like food. This city did humankind the huge favor of introducing Bolognese sauce. So of course, a visit to Bologna wouldn't be complete without having some authentic Bolognese pasta. It's awesome because they love their food so much here. They even have an entire theme park dedicated to food that is 100% worth a trip to, especially on the warmer days. If you're in Bologna during the summertime when it's hot and humid, this food theme park is actually air conditioned, so that could be a lifesaver during the hot summer days. But Bologna is more than just food. It's also home to stunning architecture, including the iconic 2 towers. Between the 12th and 13th century, the city was full of towers. And crazy thing is, I did not know this, that there is a tower that's in Bologna that actually leans more than the infamous Tower of Pisa. We were so surprised about the architecture. First off, the porticos, which are these long public hallways with columns, they're pretty much everywhere and they are beautiful. We were walking around at legit like around 2 a.m. in the morning and the streets were just packed with people. The city comes alive at night. Our third destination is another 2-hour drive away, and that's gonna take us to Florence. Now, Florence is the birthplace of the Renaissance, and you can feel the history and the culture around every corner. This city is home to some of the world's most famous museums. Now, every European city is gonna have some pretty spectacular museums, but apart from Rome, Florence is probably gonna be the go-to place if you really like history and museums. It actually used to be the capital of Italy before Rome became the capital. Florence was home to some of the greatest artists and thinkers of the time, like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Galileo. That used to be their home. And of course, you're gonna find their work in Florence. Seeing the Duomo Cathedral up close and personal is crazy. It's much bigger than I ever imagined, and just the details in the architecture is mind-blowing. So definitely if you are a history nut or you really like museums and culture and all that kind of thing, and you wanna spend time seeing that, I definitely recommend a couple days in Florence. Now our next stop is only about an 1.5 hour drive from Florence, and that is to Pisa, the city that's most famous for its leaning tower. Now the tower is cool and all, but what was actually cooler for my wife and I, and more like entertaining, was watching all the people take a photo with the tower. And that's not to make fun of anybody, but it is some 10 out of 10 people watching for sure. And just in case you were interested, the tower started leaning shortly after the construction began in the 12th century due to the soft soil and inadequate foundation. However, engineers have been working to stabilize the tower and prevent it from toppling over for centuries. Believe it or not, I was excited to see the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but I was actually more excited, since I am a full-time photographer and photography is my passion, to see the infamous tree tunnel that is in Pisa. I'm sure you've seen many photos of it before. I'm talking about the Tunnel di Pini. For whatever reason, you don't really see this on travel guides to Pisa, but this place was just perfect. And Pisa isn't very big, so I only recommend, you don't really need like an afternoon or a day there. There's not like a ton to see. Our 5th destination is one of the most picturesque out of all the destinations that I'll be sharing with you today. And it's one I'm sure you're going to be excited to visit. And it's only about 1.5 to 2 hour drive from Pisa itself. And that is going to be Cinque Terre. And for those of you that don't know, Cinque Terre is actually not just one place. It's a collection of 5 picturesque villages that are perched on the cliffs overlooking the Liguarian Sea. Now you're gonna find a lot of travel guides for Cinque Terre on the web, and I will be creating an entire video dedicated to Cinque Terre on my channel later this month. But in case you're wondering if you could do it all in one day, yes, you technically can, but I highly recommend multiple days here without a doubt. You'll also wonder, do I need to visit all 5 villages? Do I really need to visit Cornelia, which is one of the 5 villages which is often overlooked and skipped? Now, everyone has their personal preference, which is their favorite village, but funny enough, out of all of the 5 villages, Cornelia was me and my wife's favorite to visit. It is the least crowded, it is the most unique, and just the atmosphere and overall vibe of the town, like the views, it was just amazing. Everything was so cool about it. And I don't understand why everyone says skip Cornelia. It needs more love. And I also love Monte Rosso, not for the village, but for the sandy beach. The thing that surprised me the most during our time in the coastal cities of Italy is that they actually charge you to be on the beach. Now, being from Hawaii, you know, all beaches are for the public. They are free. No one owns the beaches. But in Italy, that's a different story. But huge travel tip here. You do not need to pay or make a reservation. They technically don't own the entire beach if you go past the umbrella and where they have it marked. It's free. But you don't need to go to the beach at Monte Rosso to enjoy the water. Each of the villages has an array of cliff jumping and swimming. All the villages are really spread out as well, and you will need to take a train to each of them. And you can actually buy a ticket that gives you access to all of them for the day. But if you're looking to hike, you can hike from village to village along the coast for one of the most beautiful hikes you will do during your trip to Italy. I'm gonna be making an entire video dedicated to Cinque Terre itself, so definitely subscribe for that. Now let's head to our 6th destination, which is only about a 3-hour drive from Cinque Terre, and that is to Milan, a city that's known for its fashion, design, and art. And apparently they have a Hawaiian restaurant there named Maui, which is AKA the island that I'm from, so that was very interesting to see. Milan is home to some of Italy's most iconic landmarks, like the Duomo di Milano, a stunning cathedral that's one of the largest in the world. That Duomo is probably one of the coolest buildings I think I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes. I just stood there looking at it for so long. And also, if you like pigeons, you'll find quite a few there. And I recommend visiting it for sunrise if you don't want people around, if you want to get like a cool photo or video, or if you just want it to yourself. It gets very packed because it is a very popular place for photos. The very famous shopping center is right next to it. Just that whole area is my favorite in Milan itself. It's also known as like a city that never sleeps, so if you want some nightlife, Milan might be the place to go. But what I wanted to see in Milan was the tower that's just full of plants. I didn't actually go into the building, but I was stoked I got to like check it out and finally knock that one off my list. Now our 7th destination is only about a 2-hour drive from Milan, and that is Lake Como. Lake Como kind of combines everything that I love about Italy into one place. And that is a place that just has amazing food, culture, architecture, and it's all in just one big, beautiful lake surrounded by nature. You'll see Lake Como feature in many famous films like the James Bond movies, Star Wars, House of Gucci. It is a very luxury, and it's the place where like the rich and famous go. You know the Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas? Well, the actual village and town of Bellagio is in Lake Como. It's on the richer areas of the lake and is often referred to as the Pearl of Lake Como, and for good reason. It's beautiful. The scenery is breathtaking. There's so many outdoor activities to enjoy, like hiking, boating, and the food. It has everything you could ever want. Now our 8th destination is about a 3-hour drive from Lake Como, and that takes us to another lake, which is actually home to the best pizza I've ever had in my entire life. And this is also a place that I highly recommend if you're traveling with a family, and that place is gonna be Lake Garda. Lake Garda is the largest lake in all of Italy. It is surrounded by charming villages and rolling hills, and it's just a great place to go hiking or cycling. It's also home to an amusement park called Gardaland. Lake Garda really surprised us because there's just so much to do. It's a place I would really love to go back to and spend more time because it's just so big, and each village and area has something unique to offer. But besides the best pizza, which I will tell you where to get it, our favorite thing was to visit the town of Sirmione. Visiting the Scaligero Castle was so cool, and just exploring the area and seeing the history was amazing. And of course, jumping into the lake on a hot day can't be beat. If you want to check out the hole-in-the-wall pizza place, which has the best pizza that I've ever had in Italy to date, you can find that at Pizzeria Pit Stop Lazise. And this is a common theme that my wife and I found eating in Italy. You don't need to go to like fine dining and really expensive restaurants to get good food in Italy. Literally everywhere has good food, but like the best food that we've had, like the pasta, the best pizzas, are always just at like the hole in the wall or like takeout or like, you know, casual sit down areas. Ninth destination is only about a 45-minute drive from Lake Garda, and it is a city often overlooked by tourists, and I believe it to be my favorite city in all of Italy out of all the ones I've ever been to, and that is going to be Verona. Hands down, the best pasta I've ever had in my entire life. The best pasta in all of Italy. It wasn't at a fine dining restaurant. It wasn't at like a super fancy place. It was at a takeout spot. This freshly made pasta makes me want to travel all the way back there. I think about it almost every day. It was that good. I'm not capping here. It was so bueno. Other than the best pasta in the world, in my opinion, Verona is known for its history, culture, and romance. Verona is actually the setting for Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, and you can still visit the famous balcony where the star-crossed lovers declared their love. The city is known home to its stunning architecture, like the Arena di Verona, a Roman amphitheater that is still used for concerts and operas today. Do yourself the favor right now and go to Verona. Gab and I talk about our time here in Verona more than any other destination on this list, I believe. We absolutely loved it. Now our final destination is about 2 to 3 hours from Verona, and it's the world famous Dolomites. Now, after visiting the Dolomites, I can see why people think that Italy is the best country in the entire world to visit. Italy, you really do have everything. If you know me, I love the mountains, and let me tell you, the Dolomites are the most beautiful mountainous regions I've ever been to. I've done some of the best hiking of my entire life here. Now, I know for a fact that I have to go back here because this area is just so big. You can easily spend an entire month here and not run out of things to do. We did the world famous Tre Cime di Lavorato hike. Sorry if I said that wrong. And it lives up to the height. It's the perfect hike. And at the halfway point, there's actually a restaurant you can eat at and enjoy the gorgeous views. We also visit the Alfa dei Suissi and hiked around there as well. And I definitely want to come back here for the winter season and go snowboarding in the future. There's just so much to see in the Dolomites. The mountains are grand, they're rigid. They're like my favorite kind of mountains to look at. No matter where you look, just even from your driver's side window, there's so much beauty and things to discover. If you're an outdoor lover and you're an adventurer, you love to hike, do not miss an opportunity to go visit the Dolomites. And the Dolomites is really cool too because they have like kind of a mixture of culture as well when you travel through there. You're gonna see a lot of Austrian influence in the Dolomites as well. I highly recommend doing a lot of research and picking what you want to do when you are there, especially if limited time, because a lot of this stuff is very spread out. Sometimes it could take you an hour or more just to get from point A to point B in the Dolomites if you're driving a vehicle. And also at times parking can get kind of crazy, so do expect to try to get to a lot of these trailheads, especially the more popular ones, early in the morning during like sunrise hours. But there you have it, my top 10 places to visit in Italy. Each of these destinations has something special and unique for you to enjoy, and I'm sure you're gonna fall in love with this region just like how I did. It is one of the best places I think for you to travel, and if you want to see more travel videos covering these locations, please do subscribe, but you don't have to do that like I said, and I will see you in the next one. Aloha, shoots!